Hello and welcome to the 6:15 p.m. installment of the news in English on Canal International. Up next, the headlines. Several officers serving with the Cameroonian army brought to book following evidence of misconduct imputed on them in the course of a recent confrontation with separatist fighters at a small farming village, Jotin, in the northwest region. Kidney failure patients pour out into the streets of Boya in the southwest in protests against what some term fake promises by competent authorities to repair broken down dialysis equipment. And political turmoil in the UK, where Prime Minister Liz Truss has announced she is quitting her job, and that comes 45 days after her appointment. She will go down into history as one of the shortest serving British PMs. Those were lead stories, and now a full rollout of the menu. Thanks once again for staying with us. And like I told you in the headlines, earlier this month at the small farming village of Jotin in the northwest region of Cameroon, an altercation between the government forces and separatist fighters culminated in several deaths, arrests, and the dismantling of various hideouts. Now that operation appears to have been tainted with scenes of misconduct being blamed on the government forces. In a statement, the Ministry of Defense says the culprits are being brought to book. Kejang Henry Atembe.
The brutalization of a young man in Jotin in the conflict-ridden northwest region of Cameroon by the military depicts the incredible degree of suffering civilians have been going through for the past 6 years. In the face of these recent human rights violations, the spokesperson of Cameroon's Defense Ministry, Navy Captain Siri Atomfak, has published a release on the incident where military officers were brutalizing a young civilian who they consider an acolyte to the invincible separatist kingpin, General No Pity. The communication boss of the Defense Ministry says the soldiers have been identified and have been arrested. Meantime, the Minister of Defense has condemned this inhumane act perpetrated by the military. It must be recalled that the military orchestrated a raid in Jotin, a small village in Bui Division, northwest region of Cameroon, on Saturday, October 8, 2022, in search of the self-proclaimed General No Pity and his disciples. A raid that met with resistance from separatist fighters, in which 10 separatist fighters were killed. After the operation, a video circulated on social media of the soldiers brutalizing a young man on the basis that he helped General No Pity to escape by alerting him of their presence in Jotin. This is just the umpteenth case of military atrocities on civilians in the restive northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon since the beginning of the socio-political crisis that transformed into an armed conflict.
And now down to Boya in the southwest region, where kidney failure patients earlier today took to the streets in protests against their inability to access treatment. The fuming men and women say they can no longer tolerate unmet promises by competent authorities to permanently repair the dialysis machines they rely on for remedy. D. Maureen.
On the placards, one could read the list of complaints they want the government to address. Scores of kidney patients took to the streets this Wednesday, October 20, in Boya, southwest region of Cameroon, to make their voices heard. The bewildered patients marched to the office of the governor, Bernard Okalabilai, for a solution. Unfortunately, the governor was not on seat. The aggrieved patients were received by the Secretary General at the governor's office.
We are overriding a winning horse. The horse that will collapse at the line. That's what is happening with the machines, probably. They are overused.
According to the patients, their lives is on the line following the breakdown of dialysis machines. With just 4 machines to serve close to 400 patients, they are forced to wait for these so they get themselves dialyzed. A situation that has pushed most to their early graves.
Normally it's 12 hours a week. But in Cameroon, we have 8 hours. But here we have sometimes 6 hours. They have got their own hours. You sit for 20 hours before you enter a machine. We are tired.
It should be noted, protests from kidney patients is one of the most frequent in hospitals across Cameroon. Government often steps in to provide short-term measures. This time around, kidney patients want permanent solutions to their problems.
We now take you over to the far north region of Cameroon, where fresh reports indicate that continuing Boko Haram onslaughts have forced an estimated 26,000 people to flee their homes. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, assistance is not only urgently needed, it is needed as soon as possible. Stephanie Chin.
Repeated armed incursions, looting, kidnappings and the killing of civilians across the far north region by suspected Boko Haram insurgents have continued, obliging many residents to flee the area. They sometimes go after farmers and behead them on their own farmlands. People are killed for no reason. They kill grandfathers, grandmothers, just anyone, even young people. They trouble us a lot, and when we meet them, we don't let them go. In its latest report, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, describes the localities of Mayo Sanaga, Mayo Sava, and the Logon and Chari as being amongst the worst hit. The humanitarian agency adds that as of August this year, the surge in violence culminated in the displacement of close to 1,300 families. That's about 10,600 individuals in the districts of Koza, Mayo Moskota, and Hile Alifa. The report concludes that since the start of the current year, the rising insecurity has so far forced the displacement of an estimated 26,526 persons. The far north, currently drenched by floods, traditionally ranks high on the list of parts of the country most in need of humanitarian assistance, alongside the conflict-ridden northwest and southwest regions, as well as the east, where residents frequently suffer incursions by rebels from the neighboring Central African Republic.
Now, the shortages in the supply of cooking gas being experienced across parts of Cameroon may soon be a thing of the past. Our economy beat reporter Gladys Ambo tells us in the following report that a cargo vessel docked at the Douala seaport this morning, bringing in an important consignment of the basic cooking element. Her account.
4,000 tons of liquefied petroleum gas arrived via this ship that moored at the shores of River Vuri. It was at exactly 8 p.m. local time, October 19, 2022.
We just received 4,000 metric ton of gas. This will help you, as you saw it, to make it available to all the Cameroonians.
Liquefied gas tankers and trucks filled with empty bottles have formed long queues waiting for supply. At the gas filling center of the National Petroleum Depot in Bonaberry, work has resumed. Empty gas bottles are being filled. 128,000 gas bottles will be filled a day to meet the 100,000 daily demand.
Simultaneously, gas is being sent to all other parts of the country through tankers, through the railway. In the north, gas will be available as from this weekend. All the competent authorities are here to assure the population that gas is available and in sufficient quantity. The population should be assured that a bottle of gas, 12.5 kilograms, is 6,500 francs.
The National Petroleum Depot has announced that another ship with 8,000 metric tons of liquefied petroleum gas arrives in a few days. The same quantity is expected by October 25, 2022.
Now, 1 month ago, the government of Cameroon slammed a ban on the importation and sales of cosmetic products containing skin-lightening substances countrywide. That decision followed revelations about the health hazards of those cosmetics on the population. Now, 1 month down the road, she tells us, Sherifa Saleh, that the same products can still be spotted on the market shelves across Douala. Here's a report.
1 month ago, the Cameroonian Health Ministry banned the importation, production and distribution of cosmetic and personal hygiene products containing dangerous substances such as hydroquinone and mercury. Despite the ban, there is already a black market for the products as the market has grown by 70%. Many women are reticent to quit the skin lightening cream, which is worth 380 billion francs CFA. According to dermatologists, hydroquinone is dangerous for the skin and other body organs. Meantime, police have launched raids, much to the chagrin of the sector's players, who claim some seizures don't distinguish between the products that are banned by the government and those that are authorized. According to the World Health Organization, the products are commonly used in many African countries by both women and men. Dermatologists have said that some of the substances, when ingested, in the long run, can cause diabetes, obesity, hypertension, kidney or liver failure, and contain dangerous levels of chemicals that inhibits the production of melanin, a substance produced in the body by exposure to the sun, as they are never tested before used.
Now let's move on to something else, because it is commonplace across most parts of Cameroon that young girls easily fall victim to unwanted pregnancies shortly after experiencing menstruation. According to experts, the lack of sexual and reproductive health information are amongst chief reasons to blame. Beatrice Ngamo from Yaoundé tells us that it is on that backdrop that a forum on menstrual health opened in Yaoundé today.
The monthly period, as it is commonly known, the flow of blood from the lining of the uterus in unfertilized females, menstruation. The first appearance in young girls between 9 to 12 years, difficult to manage.
In order to help those young girls who are not aware of what is happening.
This due to the lack of sexual and reproductive health education, inadequate services, lack of communication at home, and more.
In order to avoid some situation like pregnancy.
The new bodily changes leaves them vulnerable, and if not well handled, can give birth to other complicated health issues, such as early or unwanted pregnancies and infections. This, as a WHO 2018 demographic health report places the prevalence at 24%.
Pour que la jeune fille soit prête.
Reason for the first forum on menstrual health and the prevention of unwanted pregnancies among young girls in Yaoundé.
Vous savez, la jeune fille est un maillon essentiel pour un pays, essentiel dans les instances de prise de décision.
3 days of discussions, reflections, sharings, testimonies on program to shed more light on proper menstrual hygiene and attitudes to adopt to stay safe and healthy.
Now, efforts aimed at promoting bilingualism across Cameroon have continued gathering momentum, and coming into center stage is Gaoundere, where 2 books crafted to ease the learning process in both English and French have just been presented. Here once again is Ambo Gladys.
The Easy Bilingual Game, Volume 1 and 2, pedagogic tools for teachers to promote bilingualism and multiculturalism in Cameroon.
So many teachers in the Francophone sections are really suffering and they are not implementing the bilingual game, pretending that there is no source book that they are going to use that's going to help them. The work has been done for them. It's a ready-made work.
The books equally sought to address the challenges faced by students studying core subjects in their second official language.
It's important for the learners because when they reach university, they are supposed to face this kind of situation when there's an English teacher who comes and teaches them, their own subject in English.
At the ceremony in Gaundary, October 15, 2022, the third book to help learners write and speak Italian fluently was also dedicated. This book permits the learners to learn 1,000 key Italian words. The authors of the three books have pleaded for the assistance of education stakeholders to permit them produce more books in order to promote bilingualism and vulgarize the Italian language in Cameroon.
We move over to Yaoundé now for our sports page, and standing by there is Hyacinth Chia, who tells us that sports stakeholders are currently enriching their competence in the manner in which they intervene concerning athletes during competitions. He says physiotherapy is high on the agenda of discussions at a congress holding in the country's capital. Hyacinth Chia.
Little importance is given to the medical factor in some sporting disciplines in Cameroon, and this has negatively affected the outputs of the athletes in different competitions. A problem this first Congress on physiotherapy in sport is coming to address.
There has been some lapses, but we hope that we can improve the environment of sports in Cameroon to save lives and then to improve the performance in the field. Why should we not be having many more gold medals in international competitions? We can do that.
The 2 days forum, which opened in Yaoundé this Thursday, brought together medical personnel, athletes, sports promoters for rich consultations on how to improve upon the situation. An initiative highly welcomed and saluted by participants with much expectations.
So it was really a huge and an emergency for the sport in our country to have such formation that help the professionals that are supposed to care for the athlete to be up to date.
The drilling equally focuses on first aid measures to be dished out to the athletes in case of different incidents in and off the pitch.
And beyond Cameroon's borders tonight, we usher you off to the United Kingdom and the unfolding political turmoil in that country, where British Prime Minister Liz Truss has announced her resignation following weeks of criticism over an unpopular economic program she was forced to backpedal on. Resigning after barely 45 days in office, Truss will be remembered as one of the shortest-serving prime ministers in British political history. Speaking earlier today, she said she will remain in office until her successor is chosen. We have an opportunity now to listen to Liz Truss announcing her resignation as British Prime Minister.
We set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
This on that note that we call it quits on this installment of the news in English on Canal International. Catch you tomorrow, but before then, Alain Ghislain Kanga comes up at 1950 with more news in French. Remember, if you missed out on any interesting programs on Canal International today or any other day, just head on to our websites and the social media platforms. The podcasts are still loaded there for you. Stay safe until we come around the same time tomorrow.